that way. I recommend we do buy and look at buying an aerial platform truck. It's simple. I agree. It doesn't get used a whole lot. However, when time is of the essence and you have to be able to perform either high elevation rescue or high elevation fire suppression, you gotta have it. We don't have it.
Can you define high elevation at what?
I'm talking something probably in the 100-foot elevation range. That's about as high as they come. They do have some that go a little bit further past that, but I'm talking about a 100-foot aerial.
Let me ask the question a different way. If you, in a two-story house, I mean, you put a ladder onto it, right?
Correct.
Okay. So we're not, I'm trying to understand this because what I believe, the reason this is an issue is the city had one before and they took it back, right?
Correct.
After the merger. So for most of the structures in the township, I mean, I could probably think of things like the hotel and a couple of the other structures where we would need an aerial platform truck. But for most residences,
Industrial parks.
Well, the reality is, some of you live out on the west side of town. Look at the house. That's not a normal two-story house. I mean, they're considerably higher than that. We don't have ladders and get to those roofs, so okay?
Yeah.
We don't.
That's my question, yeah.
We don't. We don't have a ground ladder that'll take us up to those tops of some of those homes out there. Okay? And again, it's based on the level of service you want to provide. Okay? I'm not saying we're not going to do what we can to manage a fire scene. I'm saying as a tool. It's not going to be used as on a daily basis. I will never tell you that. But it's one of those tools that if you need it, you need it. And it's not isolated just to fires. It can be used in rescues. We've had situations where we've had a lineman get shocked in a bucket. We had to go up and get him down. We had another situation where the platform can actually be elevated down and pull somebody up out of a lower environment too. So they're multi-use. They're not just an elevator to go up. They can go down, they can go out. They have a lot of functionality to them.
But we could get access to the one that's in the city if we had one of those situations you described, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And if not from the city, we could probably possibly get one from another community. Here's the other thing you want to keep in mind though about mutual aid, okay? Mutual aid is about reciprocal.
Yeah, you got to give together.
You got to be able to give it back, okay?
Yeah.
And again, what I'm suggesting to you is it's about having a resource available,
Yeah.
okay? But go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's okay. But so what I'm really trying to sort out here is that we don't, you had indicated that we don't have ground ladders that would be sufficient to get to a second story, a two-story house in some parts.
Some of the houses, because of the way they're designed, yeah.
And the landscaping, whatever. But on the other end of that argument is this, you know, isn't this like a $900,000 truck or something?
Pretty close, yeah.
It's a $900,000 truck. We got to look at how many times we've used one in the last 13 years.
Well, where I'm going with the question is, isn't there a middle ground? We could, I mean, on one hand we say, can't we get longer ladders?
Let me throw something out about mutual aid. For a number of years, the city of Plymouth was the only one that had the platform truck. And then when it came over with the merger department had it. To the north and south of us, they eventually got them, but at that time they did not have them. So if they needed it, they called on us. Now the reverse has come where we don't have one, but everybody around us does. And it's one of those pieces of equipment that sits, it might be used once or twice a year.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing.
Go to the, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm
go to
agreeing.
the hotels, all the new buildings that you have, and even the fire code and our fire inspector, our fires are way down. We don't have that many fires. And the only thing I'm throwing out, it's nice to have resources, but how many resources do you put into a building? Because every time you put another truck or that in, you need 2 people in it.
I built a
So now,
pavilion
let's say
instead.
we have a fire, we need somebody go in a fire truck, we're sending an ambulance, we're sending a ladder truck. You know, how many people are we going to have on board? And if we have a coincidental activity going on, you know, you can't.
The city has a volunteer fire
And
department.
I'm agreeing with you because
So
to
you
buy
try
this,
to balance what's
Yeah.
going on. So you try try to get a piece of equipment, my thing is get a piece of equipment others don't have that they could use from us because they have that.
So complementary type.
Complementary, something back and forth, instead of going out and everybody wants to buy a ladder truck. And by the way, I agree with getting rid of the 92, just so you know.
Okay.
Okay? But to have a ladder, to have this type of equipment in there, I don't think it's beneficial. That's why we put sprinkler systems in and all these improvements that have gone.
Well, you know, and honestly, the simple fact of all this, the fire service over the years, we've done an outstanding job of putting ourselves out of business. That's a fact, that's reality. Fires are down generally all over. And that's good. That's what we wanted to do, okay? But, here's the but. When we do have a fire, we still have to have certain resources. And what I'm suggesting here is, it's a recommendation.
No, and I get that, and I agree with what you just said, Ron, particularly with complementary, resources, but what is still sticking in my head is what he just said a few minutes ago, which is some of the two-story houses we can't get to. What can we do so that we can get to the second floor of a two-story house without buying $1 million truck? That's what I'm asking.
You don't need to go to 100 feet.
Can we get a longer ladder?
Well, I think part of the thing too, and you can correct me, Chief, but when there's a fire nowadays, everybody's coming. If there's a fire in Northville Township, we're going, Livonia's going, Novi might show up. Everybody's going to fires everywhere. So if Livonia has a fire, we're on our way. Canton has a fire, we're on our way. I haven't seen too many fires calls lately where another community's not coming. You could correct me, Chief. I think from
Well, I'm not going to correct you. There's nothing to correct. Basically, that is what's happening, and it's happening more and more across the communities, all the communities, and actually, what you're talking about, my next slide will address that. And
because of resources that are out there.
Okay.
And it just comes down to, if you have that fire, people are coming. Firefighters will come and respond. We got to decide here what's the appropriate staffing levels based on everything that's coming through. It's risk management. And you could go put, like he said, you could have 25 people here and have a fire and not have enough.